What's up, Wayne Barron here with DarkEffects.net, and today we are inside of Adobe Edge Animate. We seem to be in here an awful lot here lately, and you know what? I enjoy the heck out of this program. It's about like After Effects. It keeps getting better and better the more I play around with it. And so what we're going to be creating today is this little trick right here. As you can see, we select each one of the items by a mouse over and mouse out event. And once we go inside of an item, it almost looks like the header and the footer sort of expand from the center and come out. So this is the effect that we're going to be creating today. Who knows, maybe somebody might find it handy to add into their website. So let's go ahead and jump into it. First thing we want to do here is that we want to grab our rectangle tool. And let's go ahead and create our rectangle, and we want to set our dimensions at a 76 for our width and set it at 25 for our height. Okay, now let's go ahead and create 4 more buttons or 3 more buttons. So that's Control C, Command C on a Mac, Control V, Command V on a Mac, and do that 3 times. So our first one is going to be first, and you rename these by double clicking with your mouse on each one of these layers, and then you go to the 4th one there. Okay, now select it and then select the next one. One thing we should have done is we should have went ahead and gave it a color. We can go ahead and do that now. So let's go ahead and jump in here and give it a color, and we're going to give this one a color of 833131. I'm just going to copy that, paste, paste. It's a lot quicker if you actually do this beforehand. So let's go ahead and move that one back. That way it's about the same all the way across. So okay, now what we want to do is that we want to go ahead and create our first little header here. Bring it up, put it on the top. Okay, let's go ahead and change its color to an F 82424. Okay, now let's go down to the bottom, disable the 2 bottom ones, give a 20 there, a 20 here, go down to our shadow, and now on our shadow we want a 1, a -2, our blur we want a 14, and then we want a 2 for our spread. And now let's click on the inset shadow, and this right here will give it that nice little color that we like so much. Let's make sure that our height and width is the way that we want it, 76, and our height at 17. Let's go ahead and double click this right here so that it is not attached, and change that to 17. Click on it and then drop it to the top. Okay, now the next thing that we want to do is let's go ahead and start animating this. So the first thing, create a trigger, and we want to stop our chosen, oops, let's go back, and yes, we want to name that chosen. Okay, so what we want to do with chosen is that we want to come out to here, and then we want to create a keyframe at 0, and then put a keyframe at 100. That way it fades in right nicely. Now we're also going to put a label, and we're going to add this label right here, and we're going to name it first point. Go to our next one. We go about right up in here. Give another label, and this right here is going to be FP extension. And now we're going to click on our opacity keyframe. We're going to add a keyframe here and here, and I'll explain to you what this is all used for in just a minute. Now we're going to create a new label, and this label is going to be called first out. Whoop. And yeah, that is a baseball reference, people. So now we're going to create a keyframe, and then we're going to go to the end, and we're going to change it to 0, which creates that keyframe. So now you got a nice little fade out effect. Okay, so what we want to do next is that with our chosen selected, we want to make sure that we've got our Y. Oh, we don't want our Y. Let's change that. Go back. We want our X. Okay, so let's go ahead and select that keyframe and go right here, and we get an error. Okay, let's try that. Let's go ahead and just click right here. Okay, now we got our keyframe here. What we want to, the reason why we're doing this is that we're setting up our keyframe so that, because this little joker here, our chosen div is going to be used on each one of these other buttons. So we need to know exactly where it is at. And right now it is at left 35, so that's where we want it to be at by the time it finishes here. Then whenever we jump to our next one, it's going to be at that position, and then this one and this one. So now let's continue and finish on as my son steps on plastic stuff. And so here, let's go ahead and choose our open action on our first. And we're going to do a mouse over, click on it, and on our mouse over we want to play, oops, not stop, we want to play it. So let's just type in play, and then we want to do our first point here, and then for our mouse out we want to play as well, and we want to set it at first out. Okay, whenever our mouse over happens, we are going to play this. It's going to fade in and show us our header button. And then whenever we mouse out, it is going to show our extended. I'm sorry, it's going to show our fade out. So mouse over shows our first point. Mouse out shows our first out as it fades out. Okay, now let's go to right here. Let's create a new trigger. And we want to get our symbol. And we want this to be FP extension. And let's go down, and we want to stop at our FP extension. So what we're going to be doing right here is that first we're going to grab a hold of our variable, which is our FP extended label, and then we're going to stop. Once we get it, we're going to stop it. Okay, next let's go to the end here, create a new trigger, and right here we are going to stop once again our FP extension. So now what is going to happen is that once it runs, it's going to hit here and it's going to stop, so it's not going to show it until we use our mouse over event, which is right here. We're going to choose our mouse over, which is going to show our first point. Once we remove our mouse, it's going to show our first out. And then while our mouse is still there, which is right here on this trigger, while our mouse is still setting on the button, right here on the button, we are going to show the FP extended, which is our first point extension, and that is set at 100 opacity for each one of them. Then it's going to stop. What the stop does is that it's going to stop it there at the end. And then we are going to add in an extra stop here to make sure that it does stop at the end and does not try to continue on to our next one. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we've got. Now each one of these we haven't done, these three, so it's going to be the first one. And there we go. Remove our mouse, it disappears. Mouse over and it shows it. Mouse out, disappears. So now what we're going to do here, this is the fun tricky part, is that we're going to make this really quick and easy. So I want to demonstrate this, and then I'll pause the video so that we can each create each one of these, and then I'll come back in after we're done. Select all of this, copy it, go over to this point and then paste. And let's try this again. Copy. And now paste. And it's being a pain in the butt. Let's try this one more time. Copy. Paste. Edit. Paste. It does not like me today, so let's grab a hold of the top here. Let's copy and paste it over. And it's not wanting to work. So give me just... Okay, I'm back. I actually had to save this project and close it out. So there is some bugs inside of Adobe Edge Animate. It totally disabled my copy and paste. I couldn't do anything. And so anyway, I made it to where I can copy and paste now. So let's go ahead and select these. You want to make sure you grab a hold of your labels. Make sure you grab a hold of your triggers and your left and opacity for your chosen. Control C, Command C, Control V, Command V, and paste that joker. Now for each one of these, we want to get rid of the copy and just rename it to second. Okay, do the same thing to this one. Get rid of the copy and change the F to an S. And on your first one, get rid of the copy and then second. And for right here, you just open up this trigger and change it to S. That is our second point extension. And then we go here and once again change it to an S for our second point extension. Now we need to make sure that we are where we're supposed to be at, so let's go over here and get rid of that, drag it over to here, and now go back and drag it over to here. See, now it's where it's supposed to be at. See, the first one is here, second one is here. That's the reason why we put in our left keyframes. If we did not, then we would have a pain, and it is a pain. So now let's go over here, and so we're going to do our mouse out, mouse overs. So on our second, we do mouse over, and it is first point, and then our mouse out. I'm sorry, we need to change this to second. So grab a hold of second and change that. Okay, so with our copy and paste, we should have second point, SP extension, and second out. All the other attributes will stay the same. So let's go ahead and run this. Once again, our number 3 and number 4 should not be doing anything. It should be number 1 and number 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that to the rest of them, and I will be back with you as soon as I get finished, and hopefully you're there. Alrighty, well, I've got mine completed, and hopefully you've got yours. On your very last one, make sure you got them spelled right here. On your very last one, you will notice that our FP is the same as our FP extension for our first point. So what we're going to do here is just name it FP extension 1. That way on your triggers, you got FP extension 1 on each one of these. And then your out has FP extension 1. So with all that done, that is what we've got. So the next thing that we want to do here is that we want to create a duplicate copy of this guy. So we just Control C, Command C on a Mac, Control V, Command V on a Mac, and this is going to be chosen bottom. Okay, now what we do here is we've got to make sure that everything's sort of got out of line a little bit. Okay, make sure everything's lined up perfectly. And now let's go to here. Let's just grab a hold of the last one, and then we drag it to the bottom. And now let's rotate it around. Oops. And I believe that's not quite.
Where's the mail that came today?
One of these days I'll get a light or something to put up so that people can leave me alone when I'm doing videos. Don't y'all just love having family around? So now what we want to do, as you can see, we've changed this one right here to duplicate the top one. All of our other attributes stay the same. We don't have to change anything, so whenever you run your cursor backwards, it shows each and every one. Everything stays the same. So now whenever we run our project, run our cursor over the first one, second one, third, fourth, everything matches perfectly. That is the reason why if you're going to have something that duplicates, you always want to do the first one first. You never try to do them both at the same time. If you do them both at the same time, you're going to run into a lot of problems. So if you do the first one first, then the second one is going to fall right into place. So I hope that y'all enjoyed this sort of long video lesson on how to create a rollover header footer menu button item. I just thought it was really cool. I love the effect, how it looks like it sort of grows in or grows out from the center. And so, but anyway, this is Wayne Barron with darkeffects.net. Y'all have a rocking week. Take care. Bye bye.